Good afternoon, groovy citizens, and happy Winning Wednesday. I know I just did a video yesterday, but if you didn't watch my video yesterday, shame on you. Make sure you go back and do that. I shared with you all that I did not do one on Monday because I did some running around taking my mom to get her new iPhone set up, and so we got that straight. Her iPad is now straight, and everything is working as it should. So I just decided, you know what, I was going to do Monday's video on yesterday, which I did, and I'm now back on track today. So let's jump right on in because I have a few hours to get this video uploaded, get my blouse that I'm wearing, because we're wearing official dress tonight. I shared with you all that my pastor's preaching over at a church over here in Landover at 6:45 this evening for a leadership consecration service, I think it is. And so I know the choir is going, the deacons, we're going, and we're wearing our official black uniforms, which is, with the white top. Got to do the pearl necklace, the pearl earrings, the name badge, all that good stuff. And so I'll be going over there this evening to do that. And I want to make sure I am ready to be walking out the door at 6 o'clock. Even though, like I said, I'm only 10 minutes away, I want to get there early so I give me a good parking space. And then I'll just sit and relax and wait until it's time to go inside. So today's topic is, and before I give you the topic title, I wanted to also say, you guys, I'm excited because today is the 31st of January. So that means that tomorrow morning when we wake up, it's going to be a whole new month. It's going to be February. So I will just say this: if you did not create a goal for yourself for the month of January, or if you did create a goal for the first quarter of the year and you have yet to get started, I need you all to go ahead and do that. Please don't wait till the last minute, the 11th hour to start on your goal. Get started now. That way, see, I told you all, one of my things that I was working on for this year is procrastination. And I am not afraid to say it. Yes, I do have my moments when I procrastinate. And that's for several reasons. Most of which is because I go, it's not that big of a deal. I can get it done just like that. So I put it off and put it off. Or it's a big project and I don't want to get started on it yet, and so I keep procrastinating. So I just decided that I was not going to go into a new year, 2024, procrastinating the way I did in 2023, 2022, 2021, 20, so forth and so on. So hopefully you all are doing the same thing. Now let's jump into today's topic, which is, if you're going through a tough time, I want you to listen to this. And I'm going to unpack it as I go along. And what I'm going to be doing is sharing some quotes with you by several different people. And like I said, I'll unpack it and we'll wrap it up. So this first quote says, you try this without God, you're tripping. See, for every time you have a plan, an aspiration, or a goal, this thing comes along called life. It happens to everybody. You are going to lose somebody you care about one day. Somebody is going to close the place you thought was going to stay open so you can retire. That's a false hope to think you're going to have a wonderfully carefree life. That quote is by Steve Harvey. And I listened to that. I actually had watched that video several times, but that quote stood out to me so much because I think sometimes we do go through life not, I always say live in the present. Yes, I want you to do that. But you also have to be mindful that whatever you have right now is not always going to be. That's why I'm always careful to remind people to stop going around saying, I want what so-and-so has. I want to be like so-and-so, because you don't know so-and-so's backstory. You don't know what it took for him or her to get where they are. All you see is the glitz and glam, but you didn't see the sleepless nights that they had to go through. You didn't see the hell they had to put up with to get there. You didn't see the bank accounts that had $0 in it. You didn't see the credit cards that will run up to the limit and even overdraft. You didn't see all of that. All you see is what you see right now. But there's a backstory to everything. And as Steve said, if you think that you're going to go through this life and it's going to be all glitz and glam, honey, you're sadly mistaken. I really wished that we could do that in life, but the reality is that life happens to everybody. Life happens to you, it happens to me, it happens to us. And that's just the way things are set up. It doesn't matter who you see right now who's all smiles, and you ask them, hey, how's everything going? You say, great. Let me say this. I tell people all the time when they say, hey, Michelle, how's it going? It's great. Everything's good. I got no complaints. I didn't say I didn't have any issues. I didn't say I didn't have any concerns. I didn't say I didn't have any worries. I said I have no complaints. You know why? Because I know who has my back. I know that God's word said that he will never leave me nor forsake me. So I'm not worried about whatever it is that's going on, because I know that this too shall pass. That's why I can definitively say it's good. I'm great. I have no complaints, because I really don't. I know it's going to work itself out, whatever that thing may or may not be. And hopefully you feel the same way. Next quote. I'm wondering this morning if there's anybody here that life has handed you something that you didn't expect. The one thing I can tell you for sure is that nothing is for sure. Life will often disrupt what you expected. That just as soon as you have it down in a nice, neat little box of how you think it's going to go, it will never be what you expected it to be. So you got to get used to being a little disappointed. You've got to get used to being a little bit shocked. You've got to get used to walking into situations and being flexible and adjustable. Because if you are not flexible, you cannot survive. That quote was by Bishop T.D. Jakes. When I tell you that's a powerful quote right there, that's just so powerful. And I could spend most of the day unpacking this. Of course I won't, but I could. And you know, I love how he starts out when he says, I'm wondering if anybody here has been handed something that you didn't expect. Excuse me, y'all, my sinuses are draining. Everybody has been handed something that they did not expect. It could be a layoff. It could be a removal from your job. It could be a relationship that didn't work out. It could be a deal that you thought was going to go through and it didn't. It could be that one person or those individuals that you thought had your back, and you found out that they didn't have your back at all. They could care less about you. Everybody has been handed something that they weren't expecting. You expected your family members, your friends, your neighbors, whoever, to live forever, and one day you look around and they're gone. Life has a way of handing you things that you weren't expecting. Life has a way of disrupting your comfort zone. And like you said, just as soon as you think you have everything down in a nice, neat little box of what you think, of how you think it's going to be, life shows up. So like you said, you've got to get used to being a little disappointed. You might be saying, well, Michelle, I don't have any disappointment. I'm not shocked. I'm not bitter. I'm not dealing with anything. Well, guess what? Stay flexible and adjustable, because life will happen. Now, I'm not sitting here wishing anything bad on anybody, because Lord knows I wouldn't do that even to my worst enemy. However, I am telling you that life happens to all of us. I know people that have been in relationships for many, 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 many years, and one day that person came home and said, I don't want this anymore. And they were thinking, say what now? We've been together 20, 30, 40 years. What do you mean you don't want this anymore? And chances are the signs have always been there that they didn't really want to be there, but they didn't want to hurt you, and that's why they stayed. So regardless of how long you've been in that relationship, things have a way of, life has a way of handing things to you when you weren't expecting them. But he said, if you're not flexible, you cannot survive. And that is just the reality. If you're not flexible, you will not be able to survive this world, because this world is full of twists and turns, ups and downs, ins and outs, and that's just the way life is. But I will say this, God prepares you for those things. Remember, and I always like to remind people, even myself sometimes, that when we're going through stuff, it may have taken you by surprise, but it didn't take God by surprise. See, God knew it was going to happen. God knew that whatever it is that you're going through right now, he knew that that thing was going to happen even before you were born. Do you not understand that? Nothing just happens. Nothing surprises God. Nothing is ever said or done that God didn't already know about. And I know what you're thinking. But Michelle, if he knew about it, then why did he allow it to happen? You know why? Because it needed to happen. It's all a part of the process. It is everything that you go through helps to make you a better person. Well, for some people, a bitter person, but for most of us, a better person. So God is going to allow you to deal with whatever that thing is, because he knows what the outcome is going to be. And he knows in order to get you where he needs you, you've got to go through whatever that thing is. No, it's not going to feel good. And you wish that it wasn't happening to you or to anybody for that matter. But the reality is that it has to, in order for you to become a better person. Let me share this with you, and then we're going to move on. Look at the people who spent some time in jail growing up or even prison, depending on what they did. And you look at them today, they're presidents and CEOs, COOs of huge corporations and companies. You know what? They had to spend time in jail and or prison in order for God to use them to becoming who they are right now. And I think it's wonderful when I listen to people's stories and they tell you the things that they did. Sometimes people tell you some things that they've done and that they've seen that it would just truly shock you and I mean, truly shock you. And I've said to myself, God, I don't know if I could have done that. But they did. They managed to do those things. They've seen things that we will probably never see, and should be thankful that we aren't going to see those things, but it's made them the person that they are today. They would not be the awesome and amazing businesswoman or businessman that you see today had they not had the upbringing that they had. And again, that's a whole topic that we can talk about half the day. But you get where I'm going with that. Next quote, God will make all things beautiful. There is nothing beautiful about going through a loss or dealing with an illness. Just give it some time. You don't have to live worried. God is working behind the scenes. That quote is by Joel Osteen, and I'm going to make sure all these quotes in the description box. But that is just to reassure you that no matter what you're going through, no matter what you're dealing with, God is going to make all things beautiful. His word said that he would. I know it doesn't feel like it right now. It doesn't look like it right now, but I promise you, God is going to make all things beautiful, but you have to believe. And the reason why we get into trouble is because somewhere along the way we stop believing. And when you stop believing, what else do you have to hold on to? Nothing. I have always been able to tell myself, all right, Lord, I don't know where you're going with this. I'm not even sure why I'm dealing with this, but I know that you're going to work it out. And you're going to work it out for my good because your word says that, and I believe it. And just like Joel Osteen says, that God makes all things beautiful. You might be in an ugly situation right now, but trust and believe. If you don't give up on God, God's not going to give up on you, and he's going to make that place where you are right now beautiful. I know it doesn't look like it, but stop focusing on what it looks like and start thanking God in advance for where it's going. Thanking God in advance for the outcome that you know is going to come down the road. Next quote, he knows the times you didn't think you could go on. He's going to do something awesome in your life. Perhaps you went through a breakup. You're hurting, you're lonely. Oh, but God is not finished. He's not going to leave you depressed. He has someone amazing coming where you're going to be happier and more fulfilled than you've ever been. Don't judge the rest of your life by one difficult season. I need to put a pin right there. Some of you all have had several difficult seasons, but I want to encourage you not to judge the rest of your life by that difficult season or seasons that you've either been through or you're going through. The rest of your life does not have to be an indication of what you're dealing with right now. Now, it can be, and 9 times out of 10 it will be, if you believe that that's all there is, and that means you've given up on everything else. Don't do that. Don't do that. Just know that God has you going through those things for a reason. That's why I always like to tell people the best is yet to come. Thoughts will tell you it's never going to change. So your thoughts is what he's saying. That thing that it's never going to change. Just accept it. Don't believe those lies. God promised that he will make all things beautiful. Now here's the key. Just give it some time. Let's put a pin right there. Too often we want God to move like this. That's not how God works. That is not how God works. God moves in his time. He doesn't move in your time. He doesn't move in my time, but he moves in his time. And the problem is that oftentimes we like to quote scripture and say, well, God, your word says ABCXYZ. Well, I'm waiting. And you got your arms folded and you looking all, sassy and what have you. Unfold those arms. You've got to give it some time. God is going to work that thing out, but you've got to give him time to work it out. Because again, God is not going to jump just because you snap your fingers and say jump. You think he's going to say how high? No, he's not. You're going to get what he has for you in his time, not in your time. Because as the word says, God is an on-time God. Now you might be thinking, yeah, but God, I asked you for whatever that thing was. You did it, but it was months later. Well, guess what? God is an on-time God, and he showed up when he knew that the time was right, not because you wanted him to show up. Let me move on. The mistake we make often is we get in a hurry. Voices whisper, if it was going to happen, it would have happened by now. We have to trust the process. All things in its time will be beautiful. If it hasn't happened yet, then it hasn't been the right time. Let me put a pin right here. We all have had times where that little voice whispers in our ear, well, if it was going to happen, it would have been happened by now. If it was meant for you, it would have happened by now. Sometimes we are that voice. Sometimes it's other voices. But other times, it's that inner voice in our head that tells us those things. And I'm telling the truth because we all have experienced it. I know I have. And that's when I have to say, Satan, go sit down somewhere. I serve a big God. I serve a God that can do all things. He can do anything but fail. His word says that he'll never leave me or forsake me. So get out of my ear, because I'm not hearing that. God is going to do it because he said he was. I just have to be patient and wait for him to do what he's going to do. So when it's your, but I love this other quote, and it says, if it hasn't happened yet, then it hasn't been the right time. So somebody somewhere under the sound of my voice, you're saying, but Michelle, I've been asking God to do whatever that thing is, and I'm still waiting. And I've been waiting for a month, 2 months, a year, 2 years, or even more. Well, guess what? It just hasn't been the right time. That's why you haven't gotten what you asked for. So when it's your time to see beauty, promotion, vindication, come on now, it will happen. So how we wait is important. Let me say that again. How we wait is important. If we wait upset, that's going to delay the beauty. The right way to wait is with an attitude of faith, knowing that he's working all things for your good, expecting his favor. This difficulty didn't come to stay, it came to pass. God being for me is more than the world being against me. I need to say that one more time. God being for me, being for you, being for us is more than the world being against you, being against me, being against us. And that quote was by Joel Osteen as well. And here is the last quote that I want to share with you. Just keep moving forward. God is not going to waste anything you went through. You're about to come out to new levels. See favor that you've never seen. Quit believing in those lies that you've had too many bad breaks. That was all setting you up for something you've never imagined. Things that were meant to harm you. Struggles that have tried to discourage you. Bad breaks that should have limited your life. This is a new day. You're about to see vindication, new opportunities. The tide is turning in your favor. What was meant for your harm, God is turning to your advantage. And that quote as well is by Joel Osteen. So essentially, the whole theme of today's video is to encourage you, to remind you that you may be waiting on something, and you may have been waiting for a while, but just know that God has not forgotten about you. His word says that he will never leave us nor forsake us. So just because you haven't seen it, it just means that it hasn't been the right time. But also, let me say this. Sometimes you're waiting for something that God is not going to give you because you asked for it, and it really was not meant for you anyway. That thing you asked for, you wanted it because somebody else had it. That's just like, you ever see people, they see someone and they say, he sure is fine, or she's a beautiful woman. How did they end up with that person? They should have been for me. Lord, I'm asking that you give them to me. No. God is not going to take the person that loves them from them to give them to you. He doesn't make mistakes. Did I not say that? But God will give you the person that's meant for you. And here's the problem. So many of you are so tied up and twisted up and wanting what somebody else has that you can't see that God has given you that good man or that good woman that you asked for. You can't see it because your mind is so focused on wanting that person. And God is saying, that's not the person for you, because that's the person I have for that individual. Or he could be sparing you, because see, sometimes things that you think you want, they're not really. If you only knew what goes on behind closed doors, you would not want that thing that you think you want. So keep an open mind. First of all, the Bible says we should not covet what belongs to other people anyway. So that's number one. But keep in mind that if that person has that individual, sweetie, that's for them. You know, you ask God to bless that. May it work out. If it doesn't, that's on them. Ask God to give you what's for you. Every day I say, Lord, whatever is for me, let it be, Lord. But if it's not for me, then please don't let me waste my time taking on things that are not meant for me. Because if you don't want it for me, then I certainly don't want it for me, is really what I'm trying to say. So hopefully, like I said, I started out this topic by saying, if you're going through a tough time, I wanted you to listen to these quotes. And it is my hope and my prayer that something that I shared with you today will help you as you go through whatever it is that you're dealing with. I don't know what you're dealing with, and honestly, I don't need to know, but it is my hope and my prayer that something that I said will help you to deal with whatever it is that you're going through. And just know that God has not left you. I know it feels like it sometimes, because I've been down that road, and you feel like you're in this by yourself, and you're looking around going, all right, Lord, well, where are you? Because it seems like you just left me here by myself. No, he didn't leave you. God will never leave you. He's always watching over you. Do you realize that God's hedge of protection is always around us? That's why when you stepped out in the street, you didn't get hit by that car, because God's hedge of protection was around you. That's why when you had that accident, God kept you safe. Hallelujah to the Lamb, because I can definitely testify to that. That God's hedge of protection was around you. And the list can go on and on and on. That's why when that person left you or broke your heart, you thought that you could not go on, and yet here you are, happier than you've ever been. You know why? Because God's hedge of protection was and is around you. So always know you are never alone. You're never by yourself. And that's all I have for you. So I just want to say thank you for giving me just a little bit of your time to speak life into you. It is my hope and prayer that if you are going through something, that you just stay confident in knowing that God he's not left you. You're not dealing with this by yourself. And if you think that, or start to feel that you're by yourself, reach out to me. Let's talk. Because what I don't want is for anybody to ever feel like they're alone and they don't have anybody that they can talk to. Reach out to me. My contact information is in the description box. You see Linktree, and you click on that, and you can find me pretty much everywhere there is. My website is there. My calendar is there that you can get on and schedule some time that we can talk. But I don't want you to feel like you are by yourself, because you're not. If nobody else cares, I care. Many of you I don't know, I probably never will get a chance to meet, but I still care. I care, and I want what's best for you. I want God's abundance and his blessings to just pour down on you, so much so that, as the word says, that you don't have room enough to receive it all. But you're going to try to find it, though. But I want that for you all, and then some. So if you're new to watching my video, I want to say my videos, I want to say welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. If this is not your first rodeo, I want to say welcome back. You know I miss you and I don't get a chance to see you. Go out there, no matter what you do or where you go, do so. Being safe. Have fun, but be safe. Okay? Have fun, but be safe. And as I always like to close, the best is yet to come. I have not seen nor ear heard all that God has in store for us. Keep that in mind. Love you all. We'll talk again on Friday.